Hey, happy Monday. Hope you're having a great Monday so far. I'm happy to be here with you. I'm really excited today to talk about relationships because relationships are things that obviously that affect everything, every part of our life. I like to start Mondays off on a good foot, and I thought relationships was a huge subject, a good really a good thing to focus on moving forward throughout the week because they affect everything. You know, the quality of your life, I believe, equals the quality of your relationships. And if you don't believe me, think about the last time that had a real crisis or you had a struggle in your life. I'm willing to bet that had something to do with your relationships, right? Whether it was, a failing or difficult relationship, maybe you had a health or financial crisis, but where did the actual pain in that crisis come from? It came from relationships, right? The challenge was in the relationship somehow, or it strained the relationship, or it put a burden on the relationship, whatever it was. It all comes back to relationships. Are really the essence of everything we do. We're always interacting with people around us, and the relationships are what either move us forward or hold us back. you know, if there's anything I've learned in the last, almost 15 years of marriage, four kids, three businesses, and countless professional relationships, it's that your relationships are they're the key to growth. They're the key to fulfillment. They're the key to happiness. I mean, you name it. The Any kind of success, they're all dependent on relationships. You know, we are not no one is an island. So many people, we get to think like we're we're in this alone, or we're trying to figure this out by ourselves, but ultimately no one's in it by themselves. No one is an island. Everyone has to rely on other people. Everyone has situations where they have to build relationships, and that's just, we're humans, we're the social animal, right? But here's the thing, so many times, and I've seen this so often. I used to be this way not that long ago, but so many times we're really trying to hit a target with a blindfold on when it comes to building and deepening our relationships. We're just trying to do what works in the moment instead of building those long lasting relationships, instead of really figuring out what what relationships rely on, what they're built on, and how do we use those to keep moving forward? How do we use those to build and deepen our relationships in real time, but also for the future? So, how do relationships work? Well, there's really, when it comes down to it, there's six ties. I like to call them ties in every relationship, and they form this relationship web. They form a structure, and when all the ties together are strong, it creates this really strong web, and the relationship is strong. But when one or more of those ties starts to become weak, when it starts to break down, it starts to compromise that entire web. So, what are the six relationship ties? Well, the first one is trust. This is the foundation. This is when you're vulnerable. This is when you are giving yourself to that relationship, and when you're vulnerable, the thing is, without trust, every step you take, every action you do, everything you do in that relationship is risky. It feels like there is a element of risk to it, right? But when it's strong and both people are fully invested in that relationship, then it becomes strong. That's what we really need to move forward. And that's when both people in the relationship can show up and really be themselves and really invest fully. It's not really about making mistakes or making less mistakes. It's about knowing that the other person is going to hold that space for you and respect you and have care for that relationship no matter what happens. So to build trust, let's say that you're in a situation where the trust is starting to erode. To build trust, it really starts by having one real honest conversation with a little bit more vulnerability on both sides. And I think I know that sounds so simplistic, but in the world we live in, especially in the world of social media and filters and all of these things, right? It's become less and less common to have that really deep, honest, open conversation. So, and so many people, nobody wants to be vulnerable. So many people are putting, like I said, all these filters on their phone or on social media, and they're putting a version of themselves out there that's not necessarily real. So I would pick, if you're struggling in the trust area in whatever relationship, whether it's your intimate relationship or maybe a relationship at work, these all apply to whatever relationship you're talking about. But pick something simple to begin with and expand as the knot starts to tighten, right? As that tie starts to become come stronger. Because when we open up, when we have trust, that's when you invite the other person, other people to do the same. So that's the first one, trust. The second one is love. Now, love isn't just about how you feel, it's about how you give. Love is an action, it's a decision. It's about putting someone else's needs, happiness, growth right alongside your own, or sometimes even before your own. And sometimes it is right beside your own, because when you're in a true relationship, like I said, it doesn't have to be the intimate partner, it can be someone that you're in a partnership with at work. But when you have that deep relationship or that friendship and you align your values, you align your needs together, that's when you can walk together. And that's where love really comes in. And that's the difference between real love and just attraction. It's where you're putting the needs of someone else before yourself. To build love, to build that muscle and strengthen that tie of love, just choose an act of love. Remember, there's love is an action. It's not something you feel, it's something you do. Whether it's a kind word, a thoughtful gesture, maybe a gift, a touch, or sometimes it can just be undistracted time. Sometimes it can be not looking at your phone when someone's having a conversation with you. That actually, believe it or not, that actually builds love. So that's how love is expressed through action, and it's not just a feeling. So that's the second one. The third one is communication. Communication, it isn't just about getting your point across. Okay, so many times when we hear communication, we think talking, but it's not just about talking. It's really about tuning in. It's about actively listening and deeply, so that you actually can feel where the person is coming from emotionally. Sometimes even without words. That's the amazing thing. Um, they did a study years ago, and they found that only 7% of communication between humans is verbal, is the actual words, the actual language that we use. That's only 7%. And then I believe it was 37 was tonal, so how you say something, and then 55%. I think I'm getting my percentages right there. Over 50% was body language. So the way you show up matters way more than actually what comes out of your mouth. So true listening, true deep active listening it's an active presence and really empathy, trying to put yourself in another person's shoes. And sometimes it means pausing your own thoughts and letting the other person's world in, really allowing yourself to step into their world and let them step into yours. To build communication, to build that muscle and strengthen that tie, in your next conversation, try to understand where they're coming from and what they're feeling. Try to go as long as you can without really drifting into your own thoughts. Ask yourself, am I listening to understand or just to respond? So that's one of the things, that's one of the keys that I have in my mind when it comes to communication is, am I listening to understand or just to respond? Am I thinking, just trying to think about the next thing I'm about to say, or am I really listening to what they're saying? The fourth one is appreciation. This isn't just about saying thank you. It's about truly noticing and acknowledging that unique value that the other person has, that presence and the effort that the other person brings to the table. The thing is, so many times it's easy for us to take people for granted. It's easier for us to take that relationship for granted. But when we show that appreciation, it creates and it fuels connection and really brings that relationship to a whole nother level if we're genuine, right? So to build appreciation, to start to strengthen that tie, I think I think thank you in our culture can sometimes seem kind of self-serving because we feel like we just got to get it out of the way, right? Like, well, thanks for that, and then we move on. But it's when you really notice and you acknowledge specific acts done by the other person, even if they're totally unrelated to you, they that's when they feel valued. That's when they feel seen. This is going to lift them up for who they are, not just what they've done. So the difference is seeing who people are, seeing them for who they are, what you can get out of them, right? The number five is mutual growth. So growth is important. It's one of the six fundamental human needs, but mutual growth is important as well because you have to be able to grow alongside each other. You have to be able to grow together. Otherwise, you start to grow apart. You either grow together or you grow apart. And it's about celebrating wins, but it's also about facing those struggles together. It's about learning from them. It's about using the energy you get from facing those struggles and overcoming them to rise higher as a team together. It's about waiting. It's not about waiting for that storm to just pass, right? It's about learning to dance in the rain while the storm is still going, right? Dance in the rain together. Mutual growth, it's this ongoing partnership. It's about becoming, not just surviving, because the two people are growing together. So if you're struggling in mutual growth, if you're struggling in the growth tie, just one of the most amazing things that you can do to really strengthen that tie is to just ask for help. I know it sounds funny, but asking for help sometimes can take massive courage. And we're so used to being self-reliant in this culture. This culture, I would say, almost idolizes independence. But when you invite your partner or a teammate into your situation, it actually it's a act of growth. It's a profound act of growth because you could say because you're bringing them into your world, you're actually becoming vulnerable, and that goes full circle to trust. You'd say something as simple as, look, I'm struggling with this. I could really use your support. Can we figure this out together? And what that does is instead of saying, can you do this for me? Because so often when we have a task and we're asking for help, a lot of times it comes off as, can you do this for me? But if you come from a place of can we figure this out together, then it's changes everything because then you're growing together. Then it's a group effort. Then you're working on it together instead of just, I'm trying to pass this off. So that's the fifth one. And then the sixth one is true presence. I think this is one of the ones that we're lacking the most in our culture today. True presence is the energy and it's the focus that you bring to the relationship, to the situation. It's about choosing to show up, not out of obligation, not out of a sense of, I have to be here, but from a genuine, real, authentic desire and energy to be all in your body and your mind because you care. That's one of the biggest differences between people that have thriving relationships and ones that have struggling relationships is if you care. Do you care about the relationship? Do you care about giving into the relationship? Are you pouring into the relationship, or are you trying to get something out of it? When the other person feels that intention, it's like a magnet. It's magnetic. It transforms those just ordinary moments into really deep connections. So if you're struggling in the area of true presence, to build true presence, ask yourself, am I here for them or am I here for me? So just ask yourself that in your head. This is going to allow you to instantly get that self-awareness, and it can create that genuine connection because you're not thinking about what can I gain from it anymore. You're thinking about what can I give. So it shifts from just showing up physically to actually really being present for that other person. Relationships they're the glue that binds us. They're the thing that holds us together. No one is an island. We all need each other deeply. That's how our world works. COVID threw off our collective consciousness when it comes to relationships. We need each other. And the key to true success, the key to moving forward, the key to growth is having those deep relationships. So they're one of the most important things in your life. I would highly, highly encourage you to really invest in your relationships today, whatever that looks like, whether it's with your spouse or with your team member or with your partner, or whatever it is. Invest in your relationships to get today, and you'll be glad that you did. Thanks for being here. Thank you for if you're watching this later. Thanks for showing up later, and I hope you're having an amazing Monday. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week. Thanks, and I'll see you next week.